The stone walls of Ramyeon Castle stood resolute under the twilight. Gameon, the young leader of the Liberation Army, stepped into the meeting room. The air carried the faint scent of ink and leather, mingling with the tension that clung to the gathered commanders. Most territories had fallen to the Liberation Army, leaving only the capital as a final stronghold. The army's strength now matched the Imperials, but two paths to the capital remained. The land route wound through Quaba Fortress, where General Aingeet's forces stood vigilant. The water route led to the Floating Fortress of Shasarazade, guarded by the formidable General Sonya Shulen. Lepon's posture suggested a preference for the land route, his pragmatic mind wary of the army's lack of boats. Mathiu, however, radiated confidence, his plan hinging on delivering 500 vessels by dawn to strike Shasarazade, where the enemy's defenses would be caught unawares. Night enveloped Ramyeon Castle, its silence broken only by the soft rustle of wind and the distant clink of armor. Within the castle's walls, the Liberation Army's warriors sought solace in quiet moments, their hearts heavy with the uncertainty of tomorrow. Humphrey loomed like a silent sentinel. Mathiu stood nearby. The tactician's shoulders sagged, burdened by memories of Kalekka, a tragedy that had driven him into seclusion years ago. Humphrey's own past mirrored that darkness, his eyes haunted by the memory of a commander he had slain in a fit of rage during that same incident. In a cluttered workshop, the air thick with the scent of oil and wood, Jen leaned against the workbench, his roguish grin softened by the night's weight. His old friend Commando, hair wild and eyes gleaming, cradled a dusty bottle of wine. The alchemist's gesture was a quiet defiance against the battle's shadow, a toast to their friendship under the flickering lantern light. They shared the wine, its warmth a fleeting shield against the dawn's uncertainties. Cleo and Pan stood in a room. Cleo's sharp features softened as she reflected on Gameon's transformation from a boy, Gregminster, to a leader bearing the hopes of thousands. Pan's broad frame seemed to carry the same pride, tempered by the ache of loss for Gremio, whose memory lingered like a quiet flame between them. Taiho lounged at a rough-hewn table, his fisherman's frame relaxed yet alert, the scent of sake mingling with the smoky air. Yamku sat beside him, his calm presence a steady counterpoint to Taiho's restless energy. Kimberly, her eyes sharp with mischief, joined them, her hands deftly pouring from a clay jug. Outside, bathed in moonlight, Tengaar sat close to Hicks, her eyes tracing the silver orb above. She yearned for a moment of romance, her heart seeking connection before the battle's chaos. Hicks, earnest but oblivious, gazed at the moon with a puzzled frown, missing the tender invitation in her glance. Tengaar's sigh blended with the night breeze, a mix of affection and exasperation. In a quiet corridor, Flick stood by a window, his blue cape stirring in the draft. His thoughts drifted to Odessa, her vision of a free world anchoring his resolve. Sanchez, approaching with measured steps, shared a moment of silent solidarity, their bond forged by her memory and the fight to honor it. In his quarters, Kryn slept soundly, a thief's sly smile curling his lips. His dreams glittered with visions of treasures amassed during the campaign, each gem a testament to his cunning amidst the war's turmoil. In front of the stone tablet, Liukin and Fukian worked among herbs and bandages, their faces shadowed by grief. The impending battle promised to claim young lives, a cost that weighed heavily on their healers' hearts. Their hands moved with quiet urgency, each preparation a plea for fewer losses in the dawn's bloodshed. Finally, in Gameon's sparse room, the door creaked open, admitting Viktor's towering presence. The warrior's weathered face bore the marks of countless battles, but his eyes held a deeper sorrow as he placed Gremio's axe on the table. The weapon, its blade worn yet resolute, was a relic of sacrifice, preserved since Gremio's death to protect the team. The next morning, Gameon shared his encounter with Leon Silverberg. Mathiu then drafted a letter for Gameon to recruit Leon to the Liberation Army. Outside, Ramyeon Castle stood vigilant under the blazing sun. Mathiu had miraculously prepared 500 boats that were built with ice frozen by a dragon's breath. The Floating Fortress of Shasarazade loomed ahead, a final test of the Liberation Army's spirit. Gameon felt the pulse of a dream worth fighting for a world where freedom eclipsed the Empire's fading shadow. However, before attacking Shasarazade, Gameon would first need to recruit Leon before it was too late. Gameon brought Mathiu's letter to the ruins of Kalekka. Leon Silverberg was not immediately convinced to join the Liberation Army after reading the letter. However, Mathiu appeared to convince him with words. Leon Silverberg would then join the Liberation Army after the conversation. As dawn broke, the floating fortress of Shasarazade loomed on the horizon, its spires piercing the mist like spears. The Liberation Army, 18,000 strong, surged across the water in Mathiu's promised fleet, their boats slicing through the dawn's chill. The Imperial Army, 17,000 troops under Sonya Shulen's command, stood ready, their banners snapping in the wind. The clash erupted with a roar, steel meeting steel as the fortress's walls trembled under the onslaught. Cage, the ninja, had slipped through the shadows before the battle, his intelligence guiding the army's strategy. Kirkis, his elven grace unyielding, led a unit of archers through the fortress's outer defenses, their arrows arcing like deadly rain. Sonya's sorcerers, cloaked in arcane power, conjured barriers of flame and ice. But Kirkis' precision overwhelmed them, their spells faltering as arrows found their marks. The sorcerers' ranks crumbled, leaving Sonya's forces exposed. Luke and Jean, commanding their own units of sorcerers, unleashed a torrent of magic from the army's flanks. Fireballs seared the air, and gusts of arcane wind tore through Sonya's infantry, their disciplined lines dissolving into chaos. The fortress's stone groaned under the onslaught, smoke rising like a funeral shroud as the Imperials staggered. Sonya's archers, hidden in the fortress's upper tiers, sprang in ambush, their arrows whistling toward the Liberation Army's core. But Maximilian, his silver armor gleaming, led a cavalry charge that thundered through the fray. Hooves pounded the blood-slicked stone, lances shattering the archers' formation. The Imperials' ambush collapsed under the relentless assault, their bows snapping like kindling. Maximilian's charge sealed the battle, the Liberation Army's banner rising over Shasarazade's battered walls. The fortress fell silent, its air thick with ash and the cries of the wounded. Gameon stood amidst the wreckage, Gremio's axe heavy in his hand, his heart torn between victory and loss. The capital lay within reach, but the cost of freedom weighed on every soul. With the battle won, the Liberation Army's next step was to burn down the fortress. But in order to do that, Gameon would first need to lead a squad into the fortress to shut the floodgate. Before continuing this mission, Gameon would first go to Seek Valley to recruit Mace. With Maas, Mies, Moose, and Mose in the party, Gameon traveled to Seek Valley to find the legendary blacksmith, Mace. He would join the Liberation Army after seeing that all his disciples had decided to join the rebellion. With Mace recruited, he would be able to upgrade weapons to level 16 at Ramyeon Castle. Gameon then reorganized his squad and brought Viktor, Valeria, Tengaar, Kirkis and Kai with him in the mission at the Floating Fortress. Rain lashes the Floating Fortress of Shasarazade as Gameon, Soul Eater rune pulsing faintly, leads his squad through its slick stone halls. Viktor's heavy steps echo, sword drawn. Valeria's gaze is steely, hand on her blade. Kirkis, bow taut, scans for threats, while Kai's staff glows softly. Tengaar's runes spark, eager for battle. Waves of Imperial guards stood ready to stop them. The squad defeated the enemies along the way and finally reached the floodgate. A shell-like creature blocked their path. A Venus shell opens, revealing a pale, sinewy humanoid within, its glowing eyes radiating malice. Lightning coils around its form, crackling ominously. Gameon tightens his grip on his staff, the Soul Eater's dark pulse steadying him. The battle erupts. The Venus shell strikes, its humanoid core summoning a bolt of lightning that splits the air with a thunderous crack. The squad scatters. Viktor dives behind a pillar, cloak singed by sparks. Valeria rolls aside, armor scraping stone, while Kirkis leaps to higher ground, arrow knocked. Kai plants his feet, staff deflecting stray arcs of electricity. Tengaar's runes flare, her hands weaving a spell. Gameon, center, resists the Soul Eater's urge to consume, instead channeling its energy into a focused strike. Viktor charges, his greatsword crashing against the shell, chipping its edge but barely penetrating. The shell snaps shut, forcing him back. Valeria darts in, a falcon rune igniting, blade carving shallow gashes across the shell. Kirkis looses arrows, targeting the creature when the shell parts, one grazing its arm, provoking a wild lightning burst that scorches the platform. Gameon observes, noting the shell opens under heavy blows, exposing the core. He casts a dark bolt from the Soul Eater, striking the creature as the shell parts, drawing a piercing wail. The Venus shell retaliates, lightning bolts raking the chamber. One grazes Kirkis, who stumbles but recovers. Another clips Valeria, her stance faltering briefly. Viktor endures a direct hit, armor smoking, but he presses forward, undaunted. Kirkis' arrow pierces the creature's shoulder, its lightning flickering. Kai vaults in, staff cracking against the creature's chest, staggering. Gameon senses the turning point. He signals Viktor and Valeria, who synchronize their attack. Viktor's raw power and Valeria's precision combine, the blades slashing deep into the creature's core. The Venus shell unleashes a final lightning storm, bolts exploding outward. Kai deflects a strike. Tengaar shields herself with a rune bag, and Kirkis ducks behind cover. Gameon stands firm, the soul eater absorbing the shock. The creature collapses, its lightning fading, and the shell crashes into the water, lifeless. The chamber stills, only the drip of water and the squad's heavy breaths breaking the silence. Gameon glances at the floodgate's lever. The path clear, and Viktor went ahead to shut the floodgate. As the squad was about to exit the fortress, they were stopped by Sonya Shulen. She asked why Gameon betrayed the Empire, and even his own father. You have incited rebellion, brought on war, and sacrificed countless lives. Is this what you call justice? She said. Just then oil within the fortress burst into flames. The fire was started prematurely. Someone on the outside must have done it. But who? Just as Gameon and squad was about to escape the raging fire, Sonya blocked their path and engaged them in a fight. Sonya Shulen, Imperial General, stands unyielding, her spear gleaming and runes pulsing with magical energy. Her armor reflects the inferno, her eyes alight with duty and vengeance for Teo McDole's death. The flames cast her in stark relief, but she remains steadfast, her resolve to crush Gameon's rebellion absolute. Gameon raises his staff, the Soul Eater's dark power surging, ready to unleash its destructive force. The squad braces, the air thick with heat and impending violence. Sonya strikes, her spear thrusting with lethal speed toward Gameon. He dodges, staff raised, as she channels the wind, unleashing a gust of wind magic that hurls debris across the chamber. Viktor charges, his greatsword slashing, but Sonya parries, her spear grazing his shoulder. Valeria dashes in, her falcon rune blade carving a flurry of strikes, only for Sonya's magical barrier to deflect the blows, shimmering briefly. Kirkis, on a charred ledge, summons his earth rune, jagged stones erupting towards Sonya, but she weaves through them, her spear spinning. Kai leaps, his staff striking with rapid, bone-jarring blows, yet Sonya counters with a blast of fire magic, forcing him back. Tengaar, runes glowing, casts a water rune spell, a soothing mist enveloping the squad, easing burns and steadying their resolve. The fortress trembles, flames surging as a beam crashes, scattering sparks. Gameon channels the Soul Eater, a black bolt of energy streaking through the smoke, striking Sonya's side. She staggers, but retaliates with a spear thrust and a lightning rune, bolts crackling toward Gameon. He dives, singed but unharmed. Viktor, undeterred, swings his sword, clashing against Sonya's spear, sparks flying. Valeria's blade finds Sonya's arm, drawing blood, but Sonya's wind magic hurls Valeria back. Kirkis Earth Rune triggers again, stone smashing Sonya's footing, slowing her. Kai strikes, his staff cracking against her armor, but Sonya's rune erupts, scorching the platform. Tengaar's water rune pulses, a healing wave washing over the squad, mending wounds as smoke stings their bodies. The blaze closes in, the exit half blocked by debris. Gameon unleashes another Soul Eater spell, a dark wave slamming into Sonya, cracking her magical barrier. She falls to one knee, spear wavering but her eyes burn with defiance. Viktor and Valeria synchronize, his heavy sword and her precise strikes overwhelming Sonya's guard, cutting into her armor. Kai's staff lands a blow, staggering her. Kirkis Earth Rune sends a boulder crashing, pinning Sonya's spear. Tengaar's healing mist sustains the squad, their strength holding against the inferno. Gameon, Soul Eater humming, releases a final dark pulse, knocking Sonya back. The general was defeated. Sonya Shulen lies defeated, her spear cast aside, her body slumped against a charred pillar. Her eyes, heavy with grief for Teo McDole and her shattered duty, fix on the encroaching flames, welcoming their embrace. Viktor, broadsword sheathed, hesitates, his face etched with conflict. Ignoring the searing heat, he hoists Sonya over his shoulder, her limp form unresisting, and rejoins the squad. Gameon glances back, the Soul Eater's weight urging him to press on, and leads them toward the exit. Mathiu, the Liberation Army's strategist, lies on the ground, blood pooling beneath him, his face pale but resolute. A deep stab wound mars his chest, the work of betrayal. Leon, the healer, kneels beside him, hands steady as he applies salves and bandages, his expression grim. Nearby, Flick looms over Sanchez, the spy unmasked, his sword drawn, trembling with rage. Sanchez stands defiant yet cornered, his deception laid bare. Flick's eyes burn with the urge to strike, his loyalty to Mathiu and the army warring with his fury. Mathiu, though fading, raises a weak hand, his gaze commanding restraint. His wisdom pierces the chaos exposing Sanchez's betrayal now would fracture the Liberation Army's morale, sowing distrust at a critical hour. Flick's sword lowers, his jaw tight, honoring Mathiu's will. Mathiu's eyes find Gameon, the young leader bearing the Soul Eater's burden. Despite the blood seeping through Liukin's bandages, Mathiu's resolve holds firm. His gaze conveys an unspoken charge. Lead the army to Gregminster, confront the Empire, and end this war. In Ramyeon Castle's dimly lit prison, Sonya Shulen sits behind iron bars, her eyes cold with lingering defiance. Cleo stands before her, torchlight casting shadows across her face. She studies Sonya, aware of her deep bond with Teo Matol, a love that could have made her Gameon's mother. Cleo's gaze softens, puzzled by Sonya's hatred for the boy, and conveys Teo's peaceful death, his pride in Gameon's growth. Sonya's expression flickers, unresolved. Cleo departs, and Gameon approaches, his soul eater room dim. He offers Sonya a place in the Liberation Army. She stiffens, surprised, then agrees, her eyes sharp with intent not to fight, but to shadow Gameon, awaiting his demise. Before the final battle at Gregminster, Gameon still had a few more recruits to gather. First in the town of Rickham, Clive could be found at the inn. He would join after speaking with Gameon. Then, at the Cave of the Past, Crowley could be found hidden in it. He would also join after Gameon found him and spoke with him. Next, at the top of Necklord's castle, where the squad had defeated the vampire, Pesmerga could be found. He seemed to be in pursuit of Necklord and Uber. He would join after Gameon spoke with him. Finally, at Jaron, Quincy could be found, and Gameon was able to recruit her after speaking with her. Gameon checked the Stoke tablet at Ramyeon Castle to confirm that all 108 stars of destiny had been recruited. Perhaps a miracle might happen. This marks the end of the episode. If you have enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe for more. Thanks, and see you in the next one.